While serving in Mexico for 15 months as a missionary for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, I came to fall in love with the country and the Mexican people. I had the opportunity to serve alongside 4 Mexican female missionaries. The second sister I served with often told me about her hometown of Reynosa, Tamaulipas, a city that sits about a half-hour drive from the Texas-Mexico border. She would tell me how at 21 years old, she could not go out by herself because of the danger posed by the gangs. She told me how these same gangs would periodically stop by each of the local businesses to collect protection money. She told me there are hardly any police in Reynosa because they have all been chased out by the gang violence. And those who do remain are very corrupt themselves. I saw other things that startled me as well. I saw people who worked hard all day, but whose efforts amounted to very little real growth in wealth. I saw 4-year-old children selling baked goods by themselves in the street at 8 o'clock at night. I heard stories from families whose children had been kidnapped and never returned. These are only some of the things that I saw, heard, and experienced in Mexico, along with many good and wonderful things. I saw beautiful cathedrals, heard the exciting music that plays without ceasing through the brightly painted streets, and met the most hospitable, generous, and caring people. I tasted Hermana Carmelita's tamales, tacos, and mole. In short, Mexico truly is an amazing place. It maybe has us beat in the food department, but it is not America. In March, as panic began to spread around the coronavirus, all of the missionaries in my area were told to go into lockdown. No one knew what was going to happen, whether we would all get sick, how severe the virus would be, or whether we would be able to finish our missions. Amid the uncertainty, our church chose to send nearly half of the 67,000 missionaries serving worldwide back to their countries of origin, and my time in Mexico was abruptly cut 3 months short. I was heartbroken to be leaving early. The goodbyes said were some of the hardest I've ever had to say. Yet being able to see my family after 15 months filled me with a calm warmth. I knew everything would be okay. I knew I had missed my family, but I hadn't realized how much I had missed my country. What a beautiful country we live in. It is not only beautiful for its spacious skies and amber waves of grain. It may seem such an ordinary part of life that we live in a country founded on principles of liberty and justice for all, and on doing what is morally right and decent in the eyes of God. However, these principles are what have built Western civilization and what make this country extraordinary, unlike any other place on earth. Some of my favorite childhood memories took place as my dad piled us all into the minivan to go to places like Gettysburg, Harper's Ferry, the National Archives, and to tour the beautiful monuments and memorials of Washington, D.C. I especially loved taking the train into D.C. on the 4th of July to watch the fireworks. I remember one 4th of July in particular, when the tornado sirens went off midday before the fireworks show. Have you ever been to Washington, D.C. and had to evacuate the entire National Mall? I have. It was a somewhat chaotic moment. However, as quickly as the clouds had come, they went away. The sun came back out, the sky cleared, and an extra close feeling of kinship was felt among all present. When the blue sky once again disappeared, leaving behind an infinite black backdrop, and we had returned to our picnic blankets, little Reagan could hardly blink as the sparkling explosions of colors reflected off of her big brown eyes. I will never forget the sublime and exciting feeling as I sat with those closest to my heart and joined in the celebration of the birth of ours, the freest country this world has ever known. But why am I telling you all of this? Our country is in turmoil. This is the most divided and arrogant I've ever seen the United States. Statues of past American heroes are being torn down. Cities and shops are being looted and destroyed. It seems that many people have forgotten the basic values upon which this country was formed and would have us become a better nation through following a socialistic, freedom-suppressing, anti-God path. A course history has shown is a failing strategy. The America we love is under attack. Our country is not perfect. I do not believe we need to brush facts under a rug. The arrival of the first Europeans on this continent began a long process of pushing Native Americans out of what had for so long been their home. Since before the formation of America, up until 1865, slavery plagued our nation, and long after, racism continued to persist in this, the country that proclaimed that all men are created equal. However, there are those who seem determined to ignore the goodness and greatness our country protects in favor of a narrow focus on any imperfections from the past. I, like most Americans, believe we don't need to forgive wrongful acts of the past. We can acknowledge that this country was built by a band of imperfect beings, but beings who more than self, their country loved, who loved mercy more than strife. While sometimes falling short, the men who built this country strove to do good. When we consider the towering accomplishments of these, our admittedly imperfect forebears, especially in the face of the challenges arrayed against them, it is nothing short of miraculous that they were able to build the beautiful and strong country we have today. How incredible that in a little over 10 years after proclaiming independence, America had established a functioning, freedom-promoting government and the Constitution as we know it today. How awe-inspiring that after enduring 4 years of fierce civil war, America was able to remain together and move forward as a more perfect union. How amazing to live in a country where we can all make something of our lives, where the police work to defend and serve the people, where little kids don't need to sell baked goods in the street at night to get by. A place where my grandparents could arrive 45 years ago with nothing, work hard, own a business, raise their family, and establish a good life for themselves and their posterity. As a Christian woman, I believe that God's hand guided the formation of this country. He is what separates the bedrock of this country from all others. Without God, morals easily become subjective. Without God, we must assume that everyone inherently knows and agrees upon what is right and what is wrong, which is only the case until it is not. Our country was built upon the divinely appointed morals of a God-fearing people. I can't help but see how he was able to take a group of regular men and transform their efforts into something extraordinary. I saw this principle as I served as a missionary and watched God transform a scared, underqualified 19-year-old into a strong, capable defender and proclaimer of truth. That is grace. We strive each day to do our best, sometimes falling short, and God takes our efforts and elevates them to heights so much greater than we could ever reach on our own. Only God can mend us, and only God can mend our nation's every flaw. This is why we humbly plead, America, America, God shed his grace on thee. Because God did, and God does shed his grace on America, but will only continue to do so as long as the patriot dream persists and there are people willing to fight for it. Thank you.